let's start today's discussion. So today we will cover mostly Netflix, again from a breadth-oriented point of view, and then we will see that if we have to slice and dice the components, then do the components first of all map to what all we have discussed in the concept building classes, and if so, then how can we talk about them in like at a very high level. If I have only 3 or 4 minutes to talk about each one of them, what sort of rinse and repeat TLDR can we do for each one of them? We can just go through that exercise, and then I will take one component and then we'll do a deep dive. Okay, so that's the goal. So Archie, again, let's say I ask you to design Netflix, or any other problem, doesn't matter, but what will be your, how will you first break the ice, or how will you just initiate the process?
I guess we start with talking about the functional requirements.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then from there, we move on to talk about non-functional requirements. And then at that point, if there are APIs that are very visible and very clear, we start designing the APIs. Once we start designing the APIs, either we move on to and take cues from the interviewer to see if you want to talk a little bit about the capacity plan. If not, then we can start talking about the high-level design, and from there we can think if it's a breadth-first problem versus a depth-first problem, and then start diving deep into different patterns and try to see the problem and categorize into one of the patterns you've mentioned out of like 3 key value workloads, compute intensive workloads, or streaming analytics workload.
Okay, so I think you're in the correct direction. So let's try to go with it. So again, we'll start with the high level thought process, and the first step is collecting the functional requirements as much details as possible, at least so that we get to visualize some APIs. We don't have to code the APIs, and we have to visualize the APIs. And again, design constraints, if the APIs are clear, or if the APIs are really less in number, then we can collect at this point. But if there are a lot of APIs, right, then it's better to, or if the APIs are not clear, it's always better to revert to, especially the performance and scalability numbers. You can defer once you are going component by component. It becomes easier of what to ask. So these are the steps. Again, the functional requirements is a must, and the design constraints or the NFRs depends on how large the problem is or how small the problem is, or if the APIs are very well laid out or there are only a few APIs you have to deal with. But other than that, if you think that it's better to come at a later time when the questions will be more clear, we'll come back at a later time. So okay, so for this particular problem, let's say designing Netflix, what do you think? What kind of functional requirements? Let's say, like let's like we all use Netflix as an app. So just tell me, like, what does the app do? What does the app serve? Like everything possible that you can think of. Yeah.
It gives us an ability to stream songs. No, I'm kidding. It gives us an ability to watch videos that's hosted on Netflix platform. It gives us the ability to search. It gives us recommendations. It keeps track of shows that we have watched, so we can either continue watching or watch them again. And then when you land on the Netflix experience, or the first time you are signing up to the experience, they ask you a bunch of questions to kind of understand what your interests are, and then based on that interest, it gives you recommendations to start off. And as you go along, your recommendations get refined based on what you watch. Moving on from there, you can watch, you can create multiple profiles using the same Netflix account. So it gives you that ability. It also gives you the ability to watch on different devices. And you can start watching on a TV and then move on, close the TV and then continue watching it on your phone, and it'll remember where you paused, so you can play right from where you had paused. It gives you the ability to stream at a higher resolution, and also at a lower resolution. That's also capped by what tier you are on, and then obviously all the payment and then profile portions of it too. I think that's all it. Are
Okay.
there other stuff?
Has any, anyone has anything more to add?
Yeah, I think like two types of users. One user is like who are consuming the content of Netflix. The
Hmm.
other type of consumers, other type of users are the people who are going to upload the content. There are two types of people who can upload the content. One is the studios with whom Netflix has partnered, and Netflix themselves upload the content because that's where their secret sauce is nowadays. Yeah, the number of movie titles are less compared to other, I think, Prime Video and all that. But like these guys are putting a lot of emphasis on Netflix themselves creating the content and uploading. That's where they're getting a lot of traction of the late.
Okay, so basically, content curators, content creators, and content consumers, the two actors,
Yes. And the
and
payment is another one. Payment,
payment.
okay. The
Okay.
subscribers have to make the payment.
Mhm. Okay.
Could be
Okay.
a
I think
monthly.
yeah, that's good. Tanmay, anything else that you would want to add?
I think one of the key areas is the star rating for the movies that we watch, so that uh, other folks can get to see how exactly the movie is going to look like. But I think apart from that, pretty much Archie covered most of the stuff.
Hmm. Lina, you want to add anything more?
Yeah, I think the watch history, like the users watching some videos.
Watch history. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So why
and
don't we? Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Uh,
So let's look
oh,
into
one
it.
more
Always
thing. One more
search
thing.
feature,
Key
search.
item, Niloy. I think is the thumbnail of each of the video.
metadata.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Search is another.
yeah, let's go forward. Okay. So basically, some of the functional, if like as an user, as a consumer, again, because I am mostly a consumer, so from a consumer point of view, if I see what the portal or what the application allows me to do is, first of all, I should be able to create my profiles, one profile or multiple profiles per account, create an account, multiple profiles per account, maybe multiple controls per profile. So this is one component. Then the other is search. Definitely, search is another component. Then user activity tracking. This may not be really visible to the end user, but definitely, Netflix is like whenever you are spending some time on a movie, whether you are hovering over or whether you are clicking on the metadata of some movie, or whether you are rating or endorsing movies, there is this they're tracking it, right? And that actually probably happens in the background to generate recommendations, to create personalizations, etc. So user activity tracking is something that is pretty important for any kind of recommendation based application. There has to be some sort of activity tracking. Then user content save points. So basically, whenever you are watching a movie, you have to, like, there are save points so that you can switch your devices, etc., and still you can continue from where you have left off, right? So definitely there is a save point service, right? That given any content that you are watching, there's a save point that you have to kind of persist. Then recommendations is a big deal, right? Again, recommendations has a lot of forms, personalized recommendations, trending movies. So trending movies is another requirement. Then the user dashboard, basically that's what is served to you, right? Whenever you come into the portal, come into the application, that's what you see, a curated dashboard. So that's the dashboard experience that you get. Then payment is one component as well. You have to be able to handle payments. Then the content management, definitely the metadata, the upload, then the device specific streaming or delivery, rights, licenses, categorization, etc. Then notifications, as I said, trending movies, then watch history, endorsements, and analytics. So analytics is, again, everyone probably has some offline analytics. So analytics is something that is not in the forward going path, but this seems to be a few things at a very high level. Again, from a visualization point of view, since we are very, very well aware of the app, we are very, very well aware of the portal, we can basically deal, like, we can visualize, right? There's no problem in visualizing what we are looking for here. So does this seem okay to go forward, or anything seems pretty okay, pretty broad, and most of the things are probably clear, right? Like, there is no, from an API point of view, or from what each bullet point means, we have a clear idea, right? We don't have to go through any kind of exercise to visualize these, right? Okay. So now from a NFR point of view, there are so many things here, right? So collecting the NFRs at this time will not be that productive, because there are so many APIs. Like, there's a ton of stuff, right? So I would rather defer collection of the NFRs when we go into go into each component, or when we design component by component, or when we deal with each component. Then I think it's better to go ahead and figure out, okay, what the NFRs would be. Okay, so once this step is done, Archie, what's the next step? That once we have gotten these functional requirements, what's the next step from here?
I think at this point we would want to go ahead and start doing some high level API design for each of these bullet points.
No, I think I would not agree, or whatever we spoke is, so these are a lot of functional requirements. So rather than jumping into the APIs, first we'll have to figure out at a high level whether all these
cluster the requirements.
Yeah, so we'll have to cluster them into microservices, right? Like, and what is the definition of a microservice? Is like, if a single team can handle all of this, or if you want to bring agility or parallelism in the development, and if you think that these functional requirements can be met by different components, or each component can be handled by a different team, can be deployed separately, loosely coupled from one another, can be maintained, operated at a granular level. So basically take this large problem statement and then try to bucketize in that way. And one of the approach that I follow is that if the data models look the same, then that's my approach. But again, up to you. Yeah. Now go ahead. Yeah. Somebody was talking. Yeah.
I was just saying, Nilay, that so pretty much like make it either independent or put the stuffs together which are related.
Yeah. So that's the judgment call that you have to make, that whether all these can be put together, handled by a same team, or can be parallelly developed, parallelly deployed, mutually exclusive. You can have mutually exclusive teams working on it. So what do you think from here, Archie? What do you think from
Nilay, one question I have. See, after we got these functional requirements, I think you are going to the next step where you are trying to bucketize. But so which approach we should take? Should we immediately go and bucketize, or we should get the non-functional requirements and then later uh, do the bucketization stuff?
So non-functional requirements are not required for bucketization, right?
Yeah.
Non-functional requirements are meant for performance and scalability. So when we are dealing with performance and scalability, then they become relevant. The non-functional requirement, whether it's large or small, big or heavy, doesn't really change your decision making during bucketization, right? So the is not relevant at this point. So you can take it, but you can also say that like it's not relevant. When it becomes relevant or when it becomes necessary, I can collect it. That much you can say.
But like always,
also,
your
Nilay,
recommendation is to go for bucketization after collecting the functional
So the
requirements.
thought process is that you are, first of all, it's a product manager who takes the functional requirements, and then he passes the functional requirements to the engineering leader. Now the engineering leader will try to scope it out first. And as I said, that there are so many things. If I start taking functional like NFRs about each of these things, probably 15 or 20 minutes will just go ahead, and there's so many things here, right? So I would rather go, and then component by component I will say that my engineering team A, when he builds A, he will talk about it. When somebody builds B, B will deal with it. So I will parallelize that effort in the real world, right? Why would I want to take 50 different things and serialize that process, right? Let me first divide the work into my teams. Let the engineering team come in and ask about it. Like, it's common sense here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
but I think Nilay, one of the key point also he mentioned that when we have so many functional requirements and also we have 45 minutes to 60 minutes of time, right? Then this is good enough for us to drive further. So we don't need to even look into NFR, right?
Yeah, at
But
this
if
point,
the function,
it's at a higher level, right? We are operating at a higher level,
yeah,
numbers, etc. Once we start building the product, once we start the productization process, then definitely those NFRs will come in the picture, because there are so many things, right? We cannot just start talking about NFRs for various things, right? So we will deal with it, because there are so many things. Just talking about NFRs will waste a lot of time at this point. Yeah.
Hey, Niloy,
You are
So
also mentioning.
hey, Niloy, this is Mayank. We have a lot of requirements here. Should we also discuss about the scope? Because definitely 45 minutes might not be enough to discuss everything. So in interview, should we scope first that, what requirements we might want to cover first, and then if time
no,
permits,
so if these are the requirements, you have to first deal with it, and then once you go for the deep diving, you can say which ones to deep dive on. But at a higher level, you have to present the high level picture, because all these functionalities are these are the functionalities. So that's what the interviewer has given, right? These are the functionalities. So at a high level, you have to talk about them. But then when you want to deep dive into each of them, then you tell that there are so many things I cannot deep dive. So when the deep dive portion happens, when the technical part comes in, like the engineering part comes in, you can talk about it. Yeah.
It's because I was comparing this to Uber problem, and Uber also has got user profile creation and everything, and we did not talk about user profile registration and the
Yeah, but at a high level, you have to just let me continue. Otherwise, I will drop off from the class. So let's continue the thought process, and yeah. Otherwise, we will not be able to complete. So this is again at a product manager level or at a project manager level. This is what the functional requirements are. So given that somebody has given you 10-15 different things, he or she is looking for something. So we'll have to see. This is a breadth oriented problem. So we have to deal with as if we have been given a breadth oriented problem. Okay. Okay. So now, so just answer my questions. I'm taking too many digressions. So let's say if these are the functional requirements, now Archie, tell me whether all these functional requirements can be handled by the same team, or now what do you think? Will these now start falling into different buckets?
I think there's no way a single team can handle all of them. We should probably go ahead and start bucketing them.
Want to become a software engineer at Google? You can, like thousands of our students. You just need to learn from those who've already cleared FANG interviews. At Interview Kickstart, our interview prep courses are developed and taught live by 150 plus instructors from Tier 1 companies like Google and Facebook. Our courses are tailored to help you crack software engineering domain interviews, including back-end, full stack, machine learning, embedded systems, data science, and more. To learn more, book your 3 webinar slot today